Okay, so we're continuing, we're still looking at the same function and we're formally going to define a limit now. But before we do that, we had a very good question from one of our WhatsApp subscribers there. Okay. Which was, why is this a closed circle and why is this an open circle? So when you guys looked at inequality notation, something that's an open circle means that that thing is not part of the function. It's not on the graph. Are you with me? And something that's a closed circle indicates that that function is part of the graph. Now, this touches on our definition earlier. When we looked at an understanding of limits, remember I said you can approach the value, but you may or you may not touch. So when you look at this and we define this limit, do you all agree with me that 9 is not part of this function? Yeah. Right? Because it's an open circle. Yeah. And when you look at 6, 6 is part of the function. Okay. Now people, when we talk about the limit of a function f of x as x approaches a, what does a stand for? Some number. For example, the value of a in the previous question is what? 2, right? When I say plus, then it means I'm approaching from the right hand side. And when I say minus, I'm approaching from the left hand side, right? So I'm going to look at these two definitions there. As x approaches a, okay? And this one's from the negative side. This needs to be equal to some value. Let's call that value p. Are you with me? And let's call the value here q. What was the value of p here? 9. And the value of q here? 6. Now I'm going to tell you something else. A limit exists for the function, right? If p and q are the same. Now if p and q are the same, it means that the limit of f of x as x approaches some value from the positive side must be equal to the limit as x approaches a from the negative side. If this is the case, if the partial limits, the right hand side running and the left hand side running, are equivalent, then we say that the limit exists. Okay. Now if the two values that it approaches from both sides are not equal, then the limit does not exist. So what can you tell me about the limit for this function as x approaches 2? The limit does not exist. Very good. Okay. So guys, each of these limits, the right hand side limit and the left hand side limits, we call these, what do we call these? Partial. We call these partial limits. Okay. Very good. Now I'm going to give you another graphical interpretation, and then we're going to continue.